Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tare, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. Today, I'm up to song number 2922, and that one is Congratulations by Cliff Richard. I don't know how many of you guys know this song. I hadn't heard it until I moved to Holland. I lived in Holland for 4 months in 1995, and when I lived there, I heard it all the time on the radio there. And I was really surprised. I actually like this song. I mean, it's a pretty kind of corny song. It starts out, kind of a big band sound. Boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, boop, 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 boop. Congratulations and celebrations when I tell everyone that you're in love with me, and so on. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Perry Como, actually. I think he's the closest American artist I can compare to him in this song. He had a song called Hot Diggity Dog Ziggity Boom, which sounds kind of the same. Hot Diggity Dog Ziggity Boom, what you do to me. That one's actually coming up on my list, believe it or not. I know the songs sound pretty corny today, and they're probably not even really considered rock and roll, but I like them. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a little old fashioned in some ways, but uh, anyway, so let me give you a little background on Cliff Richard. Cliff Richard, he wasn't that popular in America, but he was one of the most popular artists of all time in England. I mean, he had 71 top tens and 14 number ones in the UK. By contrast, he only had three top tens in the USA and no number ones. His biggest hit in the USA was Devil Woman. That came out in 1976. You may be familiar with that one. That one does sound a little more like a rock hit. I guess maybe that's why it was a hit in the USA. I know there were a lot of people in England that didn't like Cliff Richard. They thought he was too old fashioned, but maybe the old fashioned music was more popular in England, and not just England. I think most of Europe. But the song "Congratulations" I'm featuring today was actually number one in 7 countries in Europe in 1968, which is a little bit surprising, I guess, because 68 was kind of the height of the British invasion when the Beatles and the Stones were really popular, and there was a lot of hard rock at that time. You know, I think even Led Zeppelin might have been starting out at that time. So there was a lot of hard rock in England, but by contrast, there was this more kind of mainstream old-fashioned music that I guess you couldn't even really call rock. But it was still very popular, and I like it, like I said. Um, and here's what he looks like now. I think this picture was taken in 2021. And it's kind of interesting because, like I said, his career didn't really take off in the USA until the 70s. He did have three top tens in the 70s. I think those are the only, well, actually, he had two top tens in the 70s. His first was Devil Woman, then he had, that was 76. And 79, he had We Don't Talk Anymore. And then in 1980, he had um, Dreamin'. And those were his only top tens. But he had, I guess, some more top 40s. I mean, even in the 50s, in the United States, his first top 40 hit was Living Doll. That came out in 1959. I don't think I've ever even heard that song. And he also had a version of It's All in the Game, which was a very popular song by another artist, Tommy Edwards, in 63. As a matter of fact, I think it was the number one song of the year, 1963, or 1958, actually. It was a remake. Tommy Edwards had a hit in 58. And then, I don't know, he didn't have anything again until Devil Woman, and then in the 80s, like I said, his last top 10 was Dreamin', but after that, he had A Little in Love. And suddenly, that was a duet with Olivia Newton-John. And, uh, um, and then finally, Daddy's Home. He had a version of Daddy's Home, which was a hit from the 50s. I can't remember the original artist, but those were his hits and in the USA. And even though he had, probably hundreds more in Europe. Pretty hard to believe that it was such a popular artist in Europe and really not popular at all, practically in the USA. I guess that just goes to show that the taste of music in Europe and the USA are pretty different in a lot of ways. And actually, there's a lot of European music I really like. that I guess most Americans aren't so crazy about. I mean, ABBA's another example. I had another hit by ABBA a few days ago that I featured. I think it was The Name of the Game, and I really like ABBA. And for some reason, ABBA wasn't really that popular. I mean, they were pretty popular in the USA, but they weren't anywhere nearly as popular in the USA as they were worldwide. And maybe it's also because of Eurovision. I think that Cliff Richard. I know the song "Congratulations" was featured on Eurovision. It was a number one hit in 7 countries because of his Eurovision contest that featured it. Kind of like with ABBA when they featured Waterloo in 1974. That was an international hit. And I don't know. Maybe the United States should have something like Eurovision. I don't know, but anyway, I'd like to hear from you guys about that. Anyway, that's my feature on song number 2922 on my list. Congratulations by Cliff Richard. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.